Hello, this is Dog Addict, the dog trainer for real life situations. Today, I'm going to be telling you some of the things you need to do when you get your dog into your home for the first time. Most people make the mistake of getting dogs, and the moment the dog comes into their home, every member of the family, everybody that stays around that particular area starts coming close to the dog. They start touching the dog. They start surrounding the dog the moment the dog arrives that particular house. And really, this is the wrong thing to do, because what it does is it makes the dog nervous. It makes the dog uncomfortable. And I'll try to illustrate this with a normal human setting and what happens in our society. So let's say, for instance, you go into a place that you've never been to before, and you know nobody in that place, and all of a sudden everybody around just starts surrounding you. First, you're going to feel insecure. You're going to be very uncomfortable because you don't know whether they want to kill you or they want to abuse you in any way. And maybe they don't want to abuse you, they don't want to kill you, they don't have any bad intention towards you, and they just start initiating conversation and talking to you, some of them touching you. You're really going to be uncomfortable because it's really strange arriving at the place for the first time and everybody all of a sudden wants to know you, start questioning you, start touching you. No. So it's just try to picture how you feel. Okay. And it's the same thing really when you get a puppy for the first time and you introduce the puppy to your home, and everybody in your house just starts trying to show the dog or the puppy love immediately. It makes the dog uncomfortable. What exactly are you supposed to do when you get a dog into your home for the very first time? The very first day you bring your dog into your home, what are the things you are supposed to do as a dog owner? When the dog comes into your home, the first thing you do is to let the dog loose. Let the dog observe the environment. Let the dog smell and sniff around. Let the dog just explore that environment without you actually trying to interfere with what the dog is doing or what the puppy is doing. Give the puppy the time to observe his environments, to move around. This makes the dog more comfortable. Okay, this makes the puppy more relaxed because they need to get used to that environment first of all before you introduce even yourself to the dog. So it's very important that the dog observe the environment, the dog gets used to the environment. When the dog is calm, when the dog has finished observing that environment, sniffing around, exploring on his own, then at the point where the puppy or the dog is calm and more relaxed and is looking towards your direction or looking at you, then you can call the puppy towards you and just try to pet the dog a little and then try to see if the puppy will follow you. But don't just make the mistake of bringing the dog into your home and all of a sudden you start acting friendly, or you start bringing neighbors around and other members of your family start trying to touch and play with this puppy. It's going to make the dog uncomfortable. So when the dog has finished exploring, getting used to the environment, then you introduce the dog to yourself. If for any reason the people around want to see the dog, they can come around to see the dog, but they should not immediately try to touch the dog or try to play with the dog. Let the dog be comfortable first before they try to do these things. Okay, so we don't make the mistake of creating problems in that dog. There's a saying that whoever feeds a dog becomes the dog's friend, and there is a 90 to 100% truth to that, because dogs actually follow people who give them pleasure, and pleasure in this way can be giving the dog food, it can be petting the dog, it can be playing with the dog. Whatever is a positive experience for the dog, whoever gives the dog these things, the dog is going to be more attached to that person. So it's your responsibility from that point, after you get the dog into your home and after the dog has finished observing the environment and becoming more comfortable within that space, it is your responsibility to start creating that bond and relationship with the dog. So you start playing with the dog, you start feeding the dog. It's a very important activity, playing with the dog. So you start playing with the dog, you start feeding the dog. If you are going to be the one responsible for that dog as the handler in that particular home, so you start feeding the dog, playing with the dog, and getting the dog used to you. So every time the dog is around you, the dog must have a positive experience. It must always be positive. It should never be negative. Okay, so the dog must always have a positive experience being around you. Then you can start introducing the dog to other members of the family, other people living in that house or in that neighborhood that you want to socialize the dog with, that you want them to also get used to the dog. So you start introducing them to the dog too, and that is how you actually introduce a dog to a new home and a new house. Don't make the mistake of crowding the dog the moment the dog comes into your home, and don't make the mistake of having so many people trying to do or please the dog at once. Don't make the mistake of having so many people feeding the dog, so many people interacting with the dog the very moment the dog comes into your home. It's going to create confusion in the dog, and you're going to have a dog that don't actually listen to any particular person. So there must be a handler first when the dog comes into the home. Then the dog will get used to other member of the family or other member of that other residents of that particular neighborhood. But the dog must get used to a handler first, and it is your responsibility to play with the dog, feed the dog, and make sure every time the dog comes around you there's a positive experience for the dog. That's where you're going to create a bond with that dog. Next week we are going to be looking at how to introduce your dog to his kennel or his crate. So that's it on what to do when you get a dog into your home for the first time. I hope this video was helpful to you, and like the video if you like this video, share this video, and also don't forget to subscribe to my channel. I have more videos coming, and stay tuned. This is TDA.